I titled today's homily, The Divine Economy. It is based on my interpretation of the following reading from Matthew chapter 13, the very well-known parable of the sower. That same day Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea. Such great crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat there while the whole crowd stood on the beach. And he told them many parables, saying, "Listen, a sower went out to sow. As he sowed, some seeds fell on the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground where they did not have much soil, and they sprang up quickly, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and brought forth grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Let anyone with ears listen." This is one of my favorite parables. Here is a portrayal of a farmer sowing seed. Even in the picture, we see birds filling their crops with the seed the farmer had intended to plant. It is about the rather prodigal farmer lavishly strewing his precious seed, even in places that would yield little for the harvest. I believe it also can be seen as each one of us, asking us what kind of disciples we are, those who just receive it and then the seed withers away, those with hardened hearts, those among weeds with all sorts of things they consider just as or more important than this precious seed. Or lastly, those of us who receive it willingly and cultivate it in a fertile soil, and tend it lovingly all of their lives. People in Jesus' day would understand this parable because it mirrored the state of agricultural practices that were still used in this time, almost 2 millennia before the Industrial Revolution of the tree. Now, almost all of our agricultural practices use machinery, such as the cotton gin, invented in 1783, right after the end of the Revolutionary War, and later the mechanical seed planter in 1834. Let us start with the first invention, the cotton gin. Cotton farmers in the South rejoiced. That simple tool enabled them to plant much more cotton, which it then sent to the northern states to be made into fabrics at their factories. It was so successful it was named King Cotton, raising the economy of the entire South. And yet it was not popular with the slaves because of its drastic impact on the institution of slavery and the trajectory of the new nation. This cotton gin was an invention that had a drastic impact on the institution of slavery and the trajectory of this. As early as the founding of the United States in 1776, there was a clear divide over the issue of slavery. The northern states took steps to abolish slavery. In the southern states, the opposite was true. The institution of slavery became even more entrenched in this region. The cotton gin played a major role in this, making cotton an extremely profitable crop that could be exported to the northern states, as I'd already mentioned, including foreign European markets as well. The profitability of cotton would not only lead to the name of King Cotton, but also white gold. Eventually, the issue of slavery would be a major factor that ultimately led to the Civil War. The role of the cotton gin and its resulting impacts led to marked changes in the Southern economy, political realm, and the institution of slavery. The state's belief in King Cotton was such that they did not believe that they needed the Union for survival, yet it would ultimately prove to fall. So in this earthly economy, while the cotton gin made it much easier to harvest the cotton balls, it concomitantly also led to the need to increase the number of slaves working on the cotton mills, making slavery even more entrenched in the survival of the Southern economy. The next invention was made ironically, in hindsight, by an illiterate black farmer from Maryland. Henry Blair was born there in 1807. He was an African-American farmer who patented two devices designed to help boost agricultural productivity: a corn seed planter and a cotton seed planter. He received his first patent for a corn planter in 1834. It resembled a wheelbarrow with a compartment to hold the seed and rakes dragging behind to cover them. This device enabled farmers to plant their crops more efficiently and allow a greater total yield. Blair signed the patent with an X, indicating that he was illiterate. While Blair appears to have been a free man, at the time the Blair's patents were granted, the United States law allowed patents to be granted to both free and enslaved men, not women at all. In 1857, an enslaver challenged the courts for the right to claim credit for an enslaved person's inventions. Since an enslaver's enslaved people were his property, the plaintiff argued, anything in the possession of those enslaved people was owner's property as well. The following year, patent law changed so as to exclude the enslaved even from patent eligibility. So these pictures, first of the first century farmers sowing seeds by hand, then the two of the inventions that transformed agriculture, offer two very different understandings of economy, which basically means management of household finances. It would be very easy to choose these two inventions that would ultimately transform agricultural practices around the world. It makes sense, it's efficient, it means that there's less labor which can produce much larger crops, so that there's both a cheaper end product and a greater product. Isn't that what economies are all about? Well, no, it definitely isn't. If one views the parables of Jesus, there was the prodigal son, which is really the farmer who is prodigal and is rejoicing when his formerly lost son returns home. And then this sower of seeds. In the parable of the sower, that shows us we are supposed to be like generous, prodigal, wasteful even. Unlike a real farmer, we are not responsible for the ratio of good seed to that which is thrown away. We are called to be profligate, prodigal, like the farmer in the parable of the sower. We are not working on human economy, an asset to debit ratio laid out in a spreadsheet. We are called to divine economy, simply giving freely, ungrudgingly, with no expectation of the outcome of the seeds we plant. In fact, it is rare that we have any knowledge about what happens to most of them. That is the exception rather than the rule. Yet in this parable, we also get to play all the parts, not only the prodigal sower, but the various seeds that are planted on rocky soil, on weedy soil, on that which is not profitable, and lastly, on fertile soil. We are human. We get distracted easily, lose our focus, our commitment, frequently squandering our time, money, and attention on those things that do not last. It is up to each one of us to frequently take inventory of our own use of time. As we pull to a close this Sunday, let us remember that we are both the sower and the seed. And this is not an obligation, but a blessing to be treasured. One of my favorite performances was in Godspell, a musical of the Gospel of Matthew, produced in 1973. Here is a picture of the one who plays Jesus. Look at his face filled with joy. He has a mop of fuzzy hair, a red heart on his forehead. Who would not like to follow him? The following snippet is the way that the disciples act out this parable. What I found most notable was the joy which permeated every word and
right here. A sower went to sow some seed, and as he sowed, some seed fell on the footpath, where it was trampled on, and the birds ate it up. Some seed fell on rock, and after coming up,
Grow, 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 grow. Oh, oh.
withered for lack of moisture.
Oh, 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 oh my.
And some seed fell in among the weeds, and the weeds grew up with it and choked it. And some seed fell into good soil. Good soil? Come on! Where it grew and it yielded 100-fold.
Do you know what the seed is?
A baby.
Wrong. The seed is the word of God. And that seed, which fell along the footpath, represents those who hear the word. But then the devil comes and carries them off for fear they should believe and be saved.
Aye.
And that which fell upon rock, they receive the word with joy when they first hear it, but they have no root. And so in time of testing, they desert.
Bye.
See ya. And that which fell among weeds, they hear the word, but their further growth is impaired by wealth and cares and the pleasures of the world. They bring nothing to fruit.
No fruit, Robin.
But that which fell among good soil. Hey, good soil! Good soil. They hear the word with a good and honest heart, and through their perseverance, yield a harvest.
I hope you enjoy this as much as I do every time I watch it. A friend sent me this following meme a couple of days ago. I think it summarizes my message. Have a blessed day.